Remember after the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis in 2020, it was said we had a nationwide reckoning over race and policing. What people of color, especially black people, had been saying for decades about being unfairly targeted by police became a national conversation. Then Governor Andrew Cuomo led New York to pass legislation aimed at reforming local police. Each department had to submit a reform plan. In some places, nothing really happened. In others, a lot changed. In the Adirondacks, community policing training is still happening. We hear how it's going and what police think about it on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, May 21st. First up, every year, restaurants and other businesses from New York City pack up their products and head to the state capitol in Albany. As the New York Public News Network's John Campbell reports, it's a chance to rub elbows with some of the state's most powerful people.
2 big celebrities are working a crowded lounge in Albany, steps from the state capitol. They're bouncing around the room, posing for photo after photo. Their heads are huge, but not from all the attention.
Oh my goodness. Mr. and Mrs. Met.
The Mets mascots are surrounded by tables with food and tchotchkes from all sorts of Queens restaurants and businesses.
Portofino, Forest Hills, Bourbon Street, Bayside, Arepas Cafe, Astoria.
Welcome to Queens Day in Albany. It's an annual chance for local business leaders to surround the state's political class with some of Queens' best food, drinks, and attractions. Some of the state's top lawmakers and lobbyists and commissioners are there, many of whom show up to nosh and chit-chat at the end of their workday. There's Brooklyn Night and Bronx Day at the Capitol, too, and they each have their own vibe. Brooklyn Night was in March in the same lounge. A jazz band played in a corner. Bronx Day was in a convention center across the street with a DJ.
If you from the Bronx, can I get a yeah?
These advocacy days are organized by each borough's Chamber of Commerce and local lawmakers. Lisa Soren is president of the Bronx Chamber. She says the event's all about showcasing the borough's small businesses.
How do we make others understand that we rock, that we have the businesses, we offer everything, there's no need to leave the borough.
These types of events always draw a big crowd in Albany. It's easy to understand why. For lobbyists, it's a chance to get face time with some of the state's power brokers, including Governor Hochul, who went to Bronx Day. That's a big deal as the state's leaders continue to negotiate a budget with hundreds of billions of dollars on the line. And did I mention the free food and the free booze? There's lots of it.
I can remember there were you would go and get free clams at one event because some Long Island state senator would have a reception.
That's Blair Horner, senior policy analyst for the New York Public Interest Research Group. He's been lobbying for good government measures at the Capitol since 1984. He says free receptions designed to attract lawmakers have been a staple in Albany for years and years.
The whole idea, of course, is to rub elbows with lawmakers and to ingratiate yourself with someone because somewhere down the road, maybe this session, maybe next session, you're going to be asking for a favor.
It's not just the outer boroughs either. There's an annual reception where farmers from all across the state give out samples of their products. This month, there was a laborers' union reception, too, and a barbecue hosted by a trade group for power plants.
It's the kind of thing that unless you're involved in Albany, unless you're plugged into some association that has the money to pull this off, you're left out of the mix.
State law bans most gifts to public officials if the value exceeds $15. But there's an exception for food and drink at, quote, widely attended events. The State Ethics Board says that means a public official can attend if it relates to their official duties, and at least 25 people outside their office are invited. At Brooklyn Night, there were signs posted at the entrance letting officials know that they were in the clear.
Brooklyn Night meets the definition of a widely attended event.
But organizers say the goal of the receptions isn't about trading favors. It's about promoting the cause. State Senator Natalia Fernandez helped bring back Bronx Day this year after a 5-year hiatus.
It's a day to celebrate our borough. You know, Queens does it, Brooklyn does it, and we know the Bronx is just as good, if not better. There's a lot of people that come to Albany, and we want them to see the greatness of the Bronx.
State Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie is a Bronx Democrat. He says sometimes it's the forgotten borough, and events like Bronx Day can help fight that moniker.
There are a lot of dedicated people, great people who live there, who work there and own businesses there and invest there. So this is a culmination of celebrating all of that.
The state legislature is in session until early June. Lawmakers will spend the rest of the year back home in their districts. In Albany, I'm John Campbell for the New York Public News Network.
More than 400 officers in the Adirondacks have participated in what's called community policing training. Trainers work with police officers on things like de-escalation and bias awareness. The goal is to help law enforcement agencies build trust with the communities they serve. And as David Escobar reports, local officers say the program has given them tools to be better on the job.
6 years ago, the Adirondack Diversity Initiative hired Lorenzo Boyd to lead its community policing trainings. Before starting his consulting firm, Boyd was a police officer, so he says he understands why some officers might be apprehensive of another training session about bias.
When I first walk into a room, a lot of times the police aren't happy to see me because it feels like they're in trouble.
Boyd says most officers ask why their work is conflated with the actions of police officers in Minneapolis, New York, or LA. So Boyd starts by asking officers about their own trauma first, and to reflect on how stress has affected them on the job.
A typical police officer, after 3 years on the job, they see more traumatic events than a typical adult sees their whole life.
And it's only after handling officer trauma that Boyd broadens out the workshops. He teaches officers about the history of policing and why some residents, especially low-income communities and people of color, may distrust police. The training ends with lessons on how to handle public encounters with more empathy and awareness. So far, Boyd has reached officers from 12 Adirondack law enforcement agencies. Essex County Sheriff Dave Reynolds has sent over 60 officers through the program. He says it's created time and space for his officers to talk with their peers about their challenges and trauma.
We're supposed to be bulletproof. We're supposed to be perfect in everything we do. We're not. No profession has people that are perfect. For us, we don't have anybody to talk to because we can't admit our faults.
In Saranac Lake, Police Chief Darren Perotti says the training has changed the way officers approach even routine calls.
For us, going to a simple fender-bender car accident is an everyday thing, right? But when we look at that from a different stance and be more empathic about it, it's, well, this might be a college student who, this is their first car, they're away from home, so this is really a crisis for them. And so I think it's learning to go into everything and trying to use empathy and be understanding about the level of crisis for that person.
Perotti says the training has inspired more community outreach, programs like Coffee with a Cop and community walks for officers to connect with residents. And there are signs that it's working. In a survey of more than 300 officers who completed the program, nearly 100% said they learned something new that helped them do their jobs better. That matters to Tiffany Ray Fisher, who leads the Adirondack Diversity Initiative, which runs the program.
We have now proof positive that going through this training makes the officers better at their job, period. This is not meant to benefit one group or two groups. This is meant to benefit the community as a whole.
Still, only a small share of Adirondack police departments have participated in the program. Perotti says he understands why some officers may be skeptical, but he says the training isn't about criticizing police.
It's not someone coming in telling you how to do your job. It's just someone from the outside giving an outside perspective of, hey, here's what we see, and here's how the police could maybe do a better job at bridging these gaps and things like that, right? I think if we're not taking constructive criticism, we're doing a disservice to our community.
Training leaders say the next step is to expand the program to more local police forces. They also hope to build a curriculum for police academies, which would introduce more officers to community policing concepts earlier in their careers. David Escobar, North Country Public Radio, Saranac Lake.
David Escobar is a Report for America Corps member. He reports on diversity issues in the Adirondacks through a partnership between North Country Public Radio and Adirondack Explorer. We have more news all the time at ncpr.org. Music by Danny Thomas of Canton and Ben Cato of Jay. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.